Hi everybody and welcome to Chatting with Friends. Today I have my friend Mary Lou Egan who drove over from the other side of the Twin Cities. She is a Minnesota designer. Yes, I'm about as far out as you can go and still call it in the city. I'm not quite a suburb.
I didn't need my passport.
And we don't have tollways, so it didn't cost you other than your gas to get way out here. But yeah, and so I met Mary Lou a number of years ago through Ellen Silva. We went to breakfast, and she had us get together for breakfast. And Ellen was a tech editor for me and lived in on my side of the Twin Cities, and she tech edited my patterns for a number of years, and then she moved across the country, and so I'm still kind of in touch, but we had that one breakfast where we got together.
That's right.
And then I tried to get all the Minnesota designers together one time at my house just to have a coffee clutch, right? I'm a gatherer of people who know me well know that I'm an extrovert and I'm kind of a gatherer of people. And that meeting didn't go so well. Because Annie was not happy to be there.
I'm not sure why she came, but she had a lot of health things going on then.
And she had a lot of stuff going on, but everyone else came, and we had this nice little coffee clutch. And I think she thought I was asking for something, like I wanted her help or her mentorship, which was not the case. I was just kind of thinking, it'd be fun to know everyone, and so we met. And then
it was a nice group of people.
And it is, and almost everyone's still designing. Like people are still in the industry, and I just thought, gosh, wouldn't it be nice occasionally to call someone up and say, this is really hard, and I'm not making any money, or where do you teach at, or whatever, or we just know one another. So we've met a couple times.
Yes.
But I also know you a little bit through Gail.
Yes.
Because Gail Zucker was the photographer for my first pattern book, Minnesota 52. And she has some Minnesota connections. And then when Megan and I were writing that first book, we reached out to Gail when we found out that Amber was going to print our book, because our friend Amber owns a printing company.
Oh.
She's a knitter.
Oh.
And so she was like, why would you go through a publisher when I can do it for cheap for you guys? And so then we had to find our own graphic layout person and all that. And so we reached out to Gail, and Gail was like, yeah, we'll come to Minnesota. So she and her husband came to Minnesota, and we drove all over and took all the pictures. And
because her husband's from Minnesota.
Right. And you have worked with Gail a lot over the years. Does she do all your photography? Do you send her stuff sometimes?
Yes, I do. She does almost all my photography. You can tell when she didn't. If that's something I took, you can tell.
Me too. I have a photographer on the cheap, a family friend, and she's not a professional. She has professional equipment, but it's definitely
Gail is
different.
Super talented.
Yes,
her stuff is so good.
Yes, really good. And she mostly does knitwear. She does a lot of stuff for Barocco and their whole catalog. And if you follow her on Instagram, she's showing the back side of the photography process and stuff. And
she's a journalist. She's supported herself and her family for like 40 some years as a freelance photographer, which is an amazing thing to be able to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we kind of know each other through her a little bit, but we haven't run into each other in the industry much. Like I didn't go to H&H this year. We were busy, and so we just haven't run into each other that much. So I just emailed, and I was like, hey,
that's great.
Randomly, do you want to bring 10 items over to my house and we'll go through them and talk about. And I would think that maybe some of you who follow me don't know Mary Lou and might not know what you have done, because I teach a lot of beginners and a lot of advanced beginners. And I think some of your designs are definitely reachable by that aesthetic.
Mostly.
But and you have also written a book.
I have.
So I should grab it.
See, we'll get this with Gail. I did it with Gail. And Kirsten Kapoor, who's not doing designing really much anymore.
Oh, isn't she? Oh, I didn't know that.
So, Drop Dead Easy Knits.
Which is perfect for a lot of my folks.
It doesn't necessarily mean that it's super beginner. There are some real beginner things in there. But it's really that you don't have to work that hard. And the patterns are written like, here's a place where you can be on cruise control. Here's a place where you have to stop and pay attention. And
lovely sweater.
I brought that in a different yarn.
Oh, okay. So we're going to show...
Because the one in that yarn is in the trunk of my car.
We're going to show some of Mary Lou's designs and some of her favorite knits today, and just kind of go through what we've been doing on the podcast since October and just sharing other people's stuff and ideas so that you guys get exposed to a little bit more. Should we talk about this one? Because this is kind of exciting.
Oh yeah, this is my newest. So you know you love your newest.
Yep.
Always.
Yep.
This is called the Chore Jacket. And it is really designed. I mean, I based it on a sweater I designed for myself probably 10 years ago, and there was always things I wanted to tweak about it. It wasn't a pattern. It was just something I did for me. So I wanted again to have a nice deep pocket. Like you can put your phone in the pocket. It stays there. You can be outside and stick seed packets in it. And this was really fun to do. And again, there's no seams in it. It's really not that hard to do.
So is it a contiguous sleeve?
No, it's a pickup. So it's
got
you can
it.
see it's like a set in.
Oh, got it. It is set in.
A modified drop.
I put it on the mannequin and I didn't even notice.
Yes. It's a modified drop and then it's picked up and knit down so you can check the length of the sleeves.
Yep.
And the yarn is brown sheep. They changed the name of it. So Harborside Aran. And it's really nice. It's a Rambouillet Columbia. It's really bouncy. It's really sheepy but soft.
I love brown sheep. I've worked with them a number of times, and they just have really nice, sturdy.
Yep, and this is
less expensive.
Yes. This is newly developed this past year, and it's really nice. I would work with it again easily, and it was nice to work with.
Lovely. Your buttons are perfect. Yeah, perfect. They just go so well. But it's in this.
It's in this brand new first print issue, Farm and Fiber Knits. It is a new publication of Long Thread Media. So they've been around forever. They did hand woven and piecework and little looms, and they've had the website for a year and decided to do a print edition. And I'm like super stoked because other people in this are Meg Swanson and Alice Starmore.
Oh my gosh, the big guns.
Big guns. I'm
and
not a
Mary
big
Lou
gun.
Egan.
I'm not a big gun, but it's sure. I didn't even know they were going to be in there, and I was like, oh my god.
So here's her picture.
And Gail.
Gail did the photography.
So yes.
Oh, it's lovely.
Thanks. So
it's just lovely.
You should
the
check
size
out their
range
website.
Goes from 37.5 to 61.5. So all the body shapes, all the sizes.
Yep.
Lovely.
And the length and the sleeve length and the body length are both really adjustable because there's not a lot of shaping, and then you choose after you're done where you're going to put the pockets.
Oh, okay. Because
a patch pocket, and they're easy to do. So it's really you can style it to work for you.
So how would we get the magazine? Like if we wanted, is it online?
It's online. You can order it. I think there's some shops that are carrying it, but if you go to the farmandfiberknits.com, you'll find everything that you need to know. And they have really good articles. They've got some free patterns online too. So it's definitely worth checking out, I think.
Yeah, they did a profile on Cactus Hill Farm out of San Luis Valley in Colorado. There's native farmers that they're featuring. The features are twisted stitch knitting, exploring the Outer Hebrides, a woolly walk in Shetland. I mean, I want to read those, right? Like for sure. Yeah, and I would assume that it's probably also available at some local bookstores like Barnes and Noble or stuff like that.
It only came out at the beginning of July, so I haven't figured out exactly where it's going to be yet, but it is around.
And do you think they're going to do like a yearly or a annual kind?
I hope so.
Yeah,
I'm not sure. But
I suppose it depends on how it sells.
So go buy it.
Yeah, so we should all go buy it. 10 farm-inspired designs in it, too.
And you get, if you do there's an annual subscription that gives you all the website content that's not free and the print publication.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Because there's a lot of nice stuff and nice articles. There's technique articles and there's patterns and on the website as well.
Oh, that's excellent. And how did you find out about putting a sweater design in there? Did they reach out or had you seen a call?
Gail.
Oh, okay.
So Gail, the photographer, was working for them, and then the woman who was the stylist and putting this issue together, Karen Strom, is also someone I know.
Okay.
And Gail said, "Oh, you should get in touch with Karen." But on the website they have calls.
Okay.
For what's coming up.
Yep.
So
this is something that people are often interested in. Like, how did that happen? How did you get in? How do you get to teach? And so I always
right. And so if you go to the Farm Fiber Knits website, they'll say, call for spring designs, call for fall designs. And
you have to do a proposal, which I've talked about on the podcast, how to make a proposal a little bit, I haven't gone too in depth, but
they're real easy to work with. I'm doing another design for them for the fall, for the website, for some mittens.
Nice.
And they're really focused on local sheep, this sort of crunchier stuff. So for instance, the mittens I'm doing in the fall is a Montana Mountain Colors yarn.
Oh, okay.
Remember they were sold, and then one of their employees bought them, and they've got these incredible colors. And this yarn is local Montana, Wyoming wool, and that's what Farm and Fiber knits. It's kind of like Rhinebeck without the lines. That's what the editor told me.
I'll have to tell Teresa down at Get Bent's Farm. Have you been down there by Northfield?
No.
She was at the sweater camp at Darn It Anyway this year. Mm-hmm. She had her yarn there, and she has a small mill, right in Northfield, and she does day trips. You can go down and get a little tour and have a picnic outside, and but she's doing farm to fiber, small batch. I have some yarn of her. Yeah, you should, because you would love her stuff, and it's not far from you at all. And I just saw that there was a group of women down there on Instagram, and they went down for the day, and they did. I think somebody came in with the dye garden, and they did some dyeing on the day they were there.
Fun.
Just with natural dyes, and Teresa has sheep, and their farm was a meth lab. And they got So she told this story. I'm not telling tales here, but they had to go in and really repurpose the land, and they're trying to bring it back. And she and her husband and her daughter
all with the buildings,
all that kind of stuff. But they bought a mill, and they brought it in, and she's processing now.
Cool.
And just small batch, and so it would be really kind of in this Farm and Fiber network, because I took some yarn at sweater camp and told her I would do a design for her, and then I knit a hat using her yarn. It's quite rustic and thick and thin. It's just lovely halo, and
nice.
So
I'll have to take Northfield's not far from me at all.
No, and she's outside of Northfield, I think on the north side. So
really easy.
Yeah,
not
easy.
Like coming to Cori.
No, not like coming to mine. It's like an hour. Didn't it take about an hour?
45 minutes. It wasn't bad.
Yeah, because Kylie lived over in St. Paul for 3 years when she was, and it would take some days.
Depends how you
take
go.
An hour.
And that's why I wanted to come at a time when it wouldn't be trafficy.
Okay.
This is called Strobus, and I originally designed it for these were minis from Jill Draper Make Stuff.
Oh, I love her.
Her colors are so awesome.
I know.
So these are Wyndham minis that I got through Modern Daily Knitting. I bought them on their website on sale, but she doesn't have them anymore. Anyway, so this was there's mittens that go with this, and it's kind of mix and match. You can do this, and so a lot of people who bought this pattern have used scraps, a lot of leftovers, and here's one I did with the same pattern.
My dog is named Chevy because of chevrons, and my husband loves Chevy. Chevy trucks, Chevy cars he restores. I love a chevron.
And so this is my winter walk in Minnesota. This, my friend Janny Estelle, this is her yarn, and she's in Maine. And I just took bits and pieces and did this, and then the color I had the most of, I made a big thick cuff, because when you're out in the winter here, you want a double cuff.
Oh, I have to make this.
And it's got mittens that go with it too, and it's called Strobus, Strobus, and you got to look at the pictures, because Gail did these incredible pictures.
I'll put it down here, and I can put a picture in off of Ravelry.
Yep. It goes from kid to extra large adult.
Oh, that's just lovely.
Use those scraps. Yeah. Not that you have any. Knitters never have leftovers, I know. Well, let's do this one, because I have another one that's in process. I think it's in my knitting bag. This is, got my hair on it. You can tell I've worn this one. I was throwing stuff in last night. So this is a super simple cable. And this is Atlas yarn from Modern Daily Knitting.
Yep.
And it's a really nice, squishy, and I'm just blanking out on the name of this pattern, but we'll put it on the bottom of the screen. Again, it's a simple cable. It repeats itself, just this one cable twist.
And it's just got some garter in between.
Yep.
Garter. Yep. Yeah.
So if you are getting your feet wet in cables, it would be a really good
so
one to
squishy.
start.
Like it just looks like it has so much texture. People who love, texture in their knitting. There are people who love, I think, well, not always two camps, but people who love flat, and then people who just love texture, right? They want everything to have some texture.
This is a nice texture. It's really, and again, easy peasy,
awesome.
Dropped it easy. So I'm gonna get,
let me get the one you have in progress.
That I'm working on. So
I'll hold this one up. You can hold that one up.
So you can see like really different. This is Plied yarn, Ann Weaver from and really fun to knit with. This is Sun Valley Fibers.
Oh yeah.
And I'm sure like a lot of Minnesota folks see them because they're at shows. They're at Yarn Over. They're at the zombie party.
Apocalypse.
The zombie apocalypse party. So again, they have great minis. And there's bobbins for Plied, and so it's really easy. You can do a lot of different colors. I designed it to be like a beginning color work project. So it's simple to do, short floats. You can turn this inside out. You don't have to worry about how you're carrying stuff. Catching look like really easy to do. So if you're looking for a beginner color work pattern, or I don't consider myself a beginner color work knitter, but I'm a lazy color work knitter.
Well, I think lazy is nice sometimes, right? When you're not working so hard at your knitting, you're not having to, really struggle, and that's nice to do that.
Yeah, there's no mistake that it's Drop Dead Easy Knits was the.
Yeah, I met Ann at here in Minnesota last year for Yarn Over. She was here, and so I followed her online for a long time. But I met her.
Yeah, she's
there.
Fun.
She has a lovely
super talent.
Yeah.
So let's see. Now, this is not my design, but it's a favorite item. So we can...
Okay.
I love making baby sweaters. I love designing baby sweaters. I don't even have children. I'm a catch and release person. I borrow kids and give them back. But
okay, I had to pick this up.
I love doing baby stuff, and what I like is something that makes it easy to go over those giant baby heads. So this is called the Overlap Baby Sweater. This is a DK weight one. This is in Vintage Baby, so machine wash and dry. There's also a fingering weight version of it that you can use sock yarn or an easy, but this is, it's
Has
fast,
this been out there for a while?
It has.
Because I think this is the first design I ever saw from you.
Oh, really?
Because I remember these shoulders and I was like, that is brilliant. Like, I was looking for a baby sweater, and one of the biggest things is getting it over their head. And I saw this design and I was just like, that's amazing.
I was inspired by those baby t-shirts, undershirts that do this, and I thought, well, that's perfect. There's not a purl stitch in this, for those of you who are Purlovers. And it's a fun, easy, and again, it goes over the baby's head.
Yep. Yeah.
And this is another goes over the baby's head, but it's a little, slightly more complex because it's got some buttons in it, but not too hard.
Oh, and in my color. I love
in your
it.
Is this your color?
Oh, yeah. I'm orange all the way.
This is called Lincoln, and it was named after a street behind the yarnery, and also that was this sort of rusty, like Lincoln penny.
Oh,
color.
yeah, it is.
Right,
yeah,
right.
Perfect. Yeah.
So
really cute. Here, I'll hold the texture up so everyone can
it's a simple texture.
Yeah.
I'm just looking. It's not unlike what I did on the Chore Jacket.
Yeah, I looked at this. This is like, I don't know the name of that stitch.
I don't know either. It's a staggered garter and a little bit of rib so it doesn't curl.
Yeah. Yeah, it's lovely. Lovely.
So those are I do like baby stuff, and these are two of my favorites. And there's an adult version of this.
Oh, nice. Do we have it?
It's sort of orangey, another rusty color.
Oh,
and so,
my Ellie.
But no buttons on the shoulders,
yeah.
because you guys know how to put something over your head.
Yeah.
But and this is called Selby.
Oh,
which is the street the yarnery's on, because it was because I'm not a good namer. This hat is called McCubbin. It's another street.
It's the hardest.
Yeah.
The hardest thing I
stuff.
do. But.
And so This is like a matching. I've got some very cute pictures. One with a friend and his son, or little girl, and then another with my godson and his niece. Just like, it's just really, this is very gender neutral.
Yeah. Oh no, it's lovely.
And this is like a DK weight. I think it's like 22/4 stitches.
Yeah, but you can tell that it's got some, it's rustic. It's not a superwash, for sure.
No, totally not a superwash.
Yeah, not like, because the baby stuff would be done in more of a washable.
Yes, this is a machine washable sock yarn. It's really soft and fun. And if you get those, you look at those sock yarns that have all those great colors, and you bring them home and you think, now what? This is a good thing.
Yeah.
I have a fingering weight version of this, and this is the DK weight version.
That's really cute for a little girl or a little boy.
Little girl or a little boy.
Yeah. Yep.
And
a nice little big open neckline. Yep. And then again, texture. You love texture.
I do like texture.
Yeah, you're a texture person. That's lovely.
So that
gives you something to do though when you're knitting too. Easy, but it's not stockinette.
I like having a rest row. Like this has got a plain row on the wrong side, and
I'm not a fan of miles and miles of stockinette. Like I just get so bored.
It's only if there might be something I'm doing. Where
you have to. Right. There are many times that I have to, but I'm still not a fan. I just get so like, can I have something to do in the next couple of rows?
Well, so this is from Drop Dead Easy Knits.
Okay.
This is probably the 4th version of this I've done. So this is the Keynote Pullover. This was Stash yarn. This is a DK Superwash Emu. Do you remember Emu?
Yeah.
Yeah. Long gone. But
I
had this in my stash, and it's simple, fun, very wearable.
I'm going to show the neckline real close so people can see that. That's a lovely stitch.
Thank you.
That's really nice. I assume it's top down.
No, bottom up.
Oh, bottom up.
So I actually like sometimes bottom up because you've got smaller pieces to work with, and when you're finishing the sweater, you don't have like this huge thing you're swimming around in.
Yeah.
So but it's really funny. Some people don't. I don't mind sewing seams, but I thought about redoing this top down because so many people don't like to do bottom up. So
well, I think people have not done bottom up. Mm-hmm. And so then they say, well, I can't do it. It's just like, with toe-up sock or a cuff down. Once you do it one way for a long time, then you're very averse to ever doing it another way.
And I have to tell you, I was interviewed by someone who will remain nameless, who has like a big, huge social media following. And she said, you can make sweaters from the bottom up. So, okay.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Right, okay. I guess because it was the yoke, I just assumed that you did increases, right? Like that instead of decreases, right? And
decreases are easier to do when you're calculating the yoke.
Yeah, no, for sure. For sure. I love that yoke. It's really pretty.
Thank you.
Really pretty. Okay.
So this is a top down.
Okay, let's put it on. All right.
This is called Muriel, because I thought this looked like 50s, early 60s Formica patterns. That seemed like a good name, doesn't it?
Yes. I wouldn't have said that until you mentioned it. I mean, I wouldn't have thought of it, but absolutely.
So this is a mosaic pattern, so there's no carrying stranded. It's color work, but it's slipped stitches. And the shaping is here and here, like in this, so you're not doing the shaping right in the middle of the pattern, so it's actually quite simple to work. And it has a pocket, because I love pockets, and it's got a contrasting lining. You can put your phone in it, you can put your keys in it.
Oh, that's so cute.
And
it's a afterthought pocket?
Yes, the afterthought pocket.
Yep. So cute.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And this is this beautiful Australian yarn, which sadly, this was one of these things, this was done like right before the pandemic. Like I met the people from Great Southern Yarn at TNNA in like February 2020. The next month, everything was gone. And so they had plans to distribute in the US. They had some shops lined up and things just sort of fell apart. It's gorgeous yarn. You can still get it. Great Southern Yarn.
Okay.
I don't know that it's stocked in the US, but you can order online. Yep. If for any reason you are down under. It's a beautiful yarn.
Is it a superwash?
No. It's not a superwash. That's a non-mulesed local sheep. It's just,
it's lovely.
yeah,
I love
isn't it incredible?
Yeah, and I love that it has like some variegation in it,
Yes.
like highs and lows,
Yes.
which really makes it interesting.
Yeah.
In contrast to like this, which has, these are all, okay, I've done this before, but I want to tip it. These are all little pearl bumps, so that's got texture in that yoke. Even though you're slipping those stitches, it's got some texture. It's not flat. It's just beautiful up close. So I want people to be able to see that, because that's lovely. It's called Muriel.
Muriel. And this also has a big size range.
Okay.
Because
Yep.
a friend that test knit the largest size for me, I think 62
Okay.
inches maybe.
Yep.
I'd have to
Yep.
look, but it's got a big size range. Now this is a story sweater.
Okay. We love a good story on my podcast. You know, I have a section called Cori's Stories.
Okay. Wow.
We love a good story.
This sweater was made for me by Elizabeth Zimmerman.
Oh my gosh.
Is that a great story? So I started knitting. I mean, I learned to knit as a kid a little bit. And then when I was in college in Ottawa, Ontario, I made a Doctor Who scarf for my then boyfriend. And I thought, I really like this. I'm going to get back into knitting. And of course, there was no YouTube. No internet.
Yeah, no. Yeah,
whereas
me too.
as
When I
my
was in
niece
college.
says, that's when the internet was in black and white, right? So I went to the library. It also never occurred to me you could go to a yarn store and ask for help. I don't know. And so I went to the library and I found Knitting Without Tears.
Okay.
So I devoured that as like, this is perfect. I don't like following directions. So I worked that up. And in Knitting Without Tears, Elizabeth Zimmerman tells the story of bohus knitting. And I had a bohus sweater that my sister got at a garage sale for 50 cents. And it was so beautiful, I traded this crappy acrylic turtleneck that she liked for the bohus sweater. So I wrote a fan letter. And I actually have a series of correspondence with Elizabeth Zimmerman from back when I was at. So I wrote a letter and said, I have one of these and it's beautiful. And she wrote back to me and said, I'll give you whatever you want for it. And I said, well, knit me a sweater like that. So I got to tell you, this sweater 30 pounds ago didn't really fit me, but I was not about to send it back.
Yeah, no, it's a small, a very small
It's
size.
a very small size. And her stuff tended to be very small and fitted anyway.
Right. She wrote a lot of letters, though. I mean, to customers
Yes.
back in the
yes.
day, because
Yes.
when I first started listening to the Knitting Pipeline podcast 15 years ago,
Yeah.
Paula Emmons-Feasley,
Yeah.
who has now passed away,
Yeah.
you know, she had correspondence, and that's kind of how she started her podcast, to share the letters that she had gotten from Elizabeth. So I just think that is so interesting that you asked her and she knit it.
Yeah.
Like,
So
she wanted the bohus sweater.
she wanted the bohus sweater, and I wasn't going to sell it to her. I didn't,
Yeah.
I got it for 50 cents. So sadly, even though I wore that bohus sweater all the time, it was a cardigan. I haven't ever really been able to wear this, but I've never given it away either.
Yeah.
So this is my Elizabeth Zimmerman sweater.
I suppose you could cut the yoke off and knit it.
I could.
Knit to fit.
Yeah.
And then you'd have a yoke that she knit.
Yeah, that's an idea.
You know, not that you would, but like,
Yeah.
I guess, like if I'd had a small child that could wear it in those upper elementary, you know, but I guess it's just nice to have.
It is. I should frame it or something.
Yeah. Hang it on a decorative hanger,
Yeah.
and then hang it on your wall in
Yeah.
your office or something.
Do
With
you
a
know-
big tag that says
Elizabeth Zimmerman
knit
made
this.
Do you know Amy Dachin?
Yes.
So,
Oh, yes.
So Amy and I met a million years ago working
Yeah.
at the yarnery, and somehow we got talking, and I told her this story, and she said, "Oh my God, that's you!" She said, "At knitting camp, Meg pulls out that sweater and tells
That's
the
a
story
story.
every year, but she didn't know where it came from. I'm going to call her right now." So
Yeah, so Meg Swanson, some of my followers will absolutely know who Elizabeth Zimmerman is, and some probably might not. That Meg Swanson is her daughter, and they owned a schoolhouse press. Elizabeth Zimmerman back in the day was the Julia Child of knitting.
Yep, there's a good way to do it. Yep.
Right? She was on TV. She was on PBS. She taught knitting lessons on TV. She wrote 6 books, I believe, in her lifetime, and then her daughter Meg has kind of carried on that tradition. Yep. Meg has knitting camp every year in mid-Wisconsin that you can go to. You start at level 1, and then you move your way up to level 2, and then you become a lifetime.
Have you been to camp?
No, I haven't been to
either.
camp, but Susan Rainey goes every year, and Vicki, Vicki, who had the Heartland Knits podcast, she always goes, and those people are pros.
Oh my God,
they are finishing experts.
You
they are.
Susan Rainey on here.
I know. She won't. I know. I know Susan. I knit with Susan.
I know you know Susan. Yeah.
She's such an introvert. She.
I'm not.
No. And I have had friends who are introverts who say it's not too bad because you just talk to them.
Right.
And it's like, I'm a chatterbox, so I just fill in all the spaces.
But
I will definitely ask her again. I have asked several people who have said no. Right? They're like, I'm just not comfortable, Cori. I just can't do it. And I'm like, could you bring your 10 things and I'll talk about them? Because I think it's so fun to see other people's, items because they're different than mine. And I've talked for so long about the stuff that I knit, which definitely has a different aesthetic than other people, right?
And that's what's fun.
Right. And Susan's stuff is so professionally knit. And so like we, in my knitting group, and this is not derogatory. We call her State Fair Susan.
Well, no kidding.
Because she wins the State Fair something, the big blue ribbon, almost every year. She plans her knitting for the year around what she's going to make. She's made that pineapple lace tablecloth out of lace weight yarn.
What's the guy, Herbert?
Yeah,
what's his name?
Yeah, Niebling. Is that,
so.
Like she knit one of those. She just is and she knits at Be Woolen a lot.
Yeah,
She's often there at Be Woolen. It's just top for them, and
she's just incredible. I always tell people, my students, I'm not the greatest technical knitter, but I can fudge better than anyone. Susan Rainey has no need to fudge.
Right.
Ever.
Yeah, right. Well, and she wouldn't. Like she would rip.
She'd rip it out
and figure out a different technique to make it look better.
Right.
Where the rest of us would be just like, well, I'm gonna knit two together.
Whatever.
Yeah. So absolutely.
This is not my design. This is my good friend Teresa Gaffy, who's done tons of designing.
Yep.
You can find Teresa. So this is called, Coastal.
Coastal.
I'll give you the name.
Is it a linen?
This is a yarn it's called Coast, the yarn. It's a cotton wool blend.
Okay.
It's super lightweight.
Yeah.
But it knits up at a variety of gauges. And it's the only place right now I think you can buy it in the US is at the Yarnery. You can order it online. It's so inexpensive.
Oh, it just feels really lovely for a summer, like something around your neck.
This is also Coast. I can show that later. So it's great yarn. Anyway, this is a pattern. You can get kits from the Yarnery. I chose colors back when I was working. I chose colors that went with my wardrobe. And it's great because people would say, wow, that scarf, I'd have it on. Yeah. People would say, oh, that goes with what you're wearing. I'm like, yeah, there's a reason.
Yeah,
because I went in and I chose colors so that when I traveled or something, I'd have this one scarf and 3 shirts. But it's short rows, do the curves. It's a great pattern. And so I would say it's easy. And this is also Coast. I mean, feel this.
Yeah.
Knit at a completely different gauge.
Like this would feel almost like you had nothing on top, right? Like it's just so drapey and light
this pattern is called Lavalette. I'm from New Jersey, and this is named for a beach in New Jersey because it's a summery thing. And again, really easy. This kind of faux lace is a 1x1 rib that's done with 2 different size needles. One really big one really small one. So it gives you this lacy look, but
you didn't have to work too hard to do it. Yep.
So, and you can adjust the length, you can make, so this is also Coast, but I've made it in a linen. I've seen people make it in a hemp.
Yep. Yeah.
And it's a big range of sizes as well.
Yeah. Is it fingering weight, do you think?
Well, it's called fingering weight, but the gauge for this, I did this at 5 stitches to the inch.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But it blooms.
Yeah.
It looks very,
because the stockinette portion is not open.
No.
Right. It's nice. It's got a lovely, yeah.
But you can do it tighter. You can double it. And Carrie, depends what you wanted. I wanted a summer weight top.
Yeah.
And it's a very versatile yarn. It comes from Sweden.
Oh, okay.
Maybe.
The yarnery tends to carry some things that you can't get other places, and that's lovely. I mean, it shops way across the city from me, and but when Kylie was living over there, I would stop in, especially when they were on Grand.
Yeah.
But then they moved over to Selby, and they have more. It's a brighter space. The access is better. It's more open. It was in an old house, which was quaint and kitschy and
dark.
But everybody, we all knew that it was, Yarnery is the one in the old house on Grand Avenue, which is like an eclectic, famous street in St. Paul where it divided boulevards and big old mansions. Yep. It's just very beautiful part of town. Great place to shop and eat and those kinds of things. But they just moved up the road a little bit, and they do have some of the yarns that you really just can't find other places.
Right. They carry a lot of basics too, a lot of Baroque, a lot of things, but a lot of, and they try to bring, because you can't carry everything, bring things in and out, local dyers, indie dyers, but the Holstgard is the company that does this, and they have like wool and silk and the cotton and wool, and you can buy it in cones, and it's beautiful yarn, incredible colors, and super affordable. I just did this because I wear this all the time. A pressed flowers shawl.
But yours is in a palette that is more neutral than mine. Mine is super obnoxious, really bright. And this shows it off differently, which I think is lovely.
Great. This is felted tweed.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So you did two colors, or was it a gradient?
It was a gradient.
Oh, okay.
Two different. It was a gradient, and the other one, I don't think they make the gradient anymore. I'm not sure. Anyway, this was a gradient. Really fun. I did a class on this, and so did it for part of the class. I wear it all the time, which is why I brought it. So, Pressed Flowers, Savory Knitting, Amy Christophers has many more pressed things now. I've done a few of the others, but her patterns are really good. Her designs are clever. She's a lovely.
This is all slip stitches. It's all done
Mosaic,
in slip stitches.
Like
Yep. And she's done a cardigan, a pullover, and a hat. Yes,
I have the hat too. I try not to wear them together.
Let's put it up here.
I'll look like a refugee from Rhinebeck.
Ooh, it's so pretty.
So Amy's a very gifted designer and a lovely human being. So
that's a lovely. Just the colors are so nice.
So I wanted to bring that because Cori said some of your favorite things, and I thought I wear this all the time.
Right.
So
yeah,
and I always get compliments on it. So
for sure.
I recommend if you want to be a little adventurous.
Yeah, it was challenging at first.
Yes.
To get started, I took Anne's class online on Zoom when I was starting mine, and she's like, "What are you doing in my class?" And I was like, "Well, I've never taken a class from you, and I don't know how to do this." It was a weird start, to get your slip stitches and get it set up. Once you set up the flower, then you could see it.
Then it was easy.
There was some stuff going on at the beginning, and she just laughed and she said, "Okay," and then it was just like a 2-hour class where she was getting everybody started, and I thought that's perfect for me. And because I'm also that kind of person that I love starting projects, that whole tree is all projects that have been started. Like, I'm a beautiful starter.
Yes.
And but sometimes I just have things that I kind of want to learn how to do.
Yes.
And I didn't know that I'd ever finish knitting it, but I kind of wanted to know how because it was so popular. Definitely.
Yeah, and I did it for class because the starting it, as Cori said, it's a little bit of a challenge at the beginning for starting it, and walking people through that. I blew up the charts from everybody's patterns so they could highlight them and do that. And once you get about to here, you're like, oh, that's what I'm doing.
Yes, exactly.
And so then the rest of it is pretty smooth sailing.
Yeah, it was like a light bulb thing, right? Like there's just so much going on in the instruction at the very beginning. And I wouldn't even say that it was hard. I think I could have fussed it out, right?
Yeah,
myself.
Why struggle?
But Anne was teaching this class and online, and I think it was during the pandemic or right after. And I don't know why she was teaching it, not Amy, but she was teaching us to start.
She had kits for Plied.
Okay, that's why. Okay, yeah. So,
So I would say if you want a little bit of a challenge, but not overwhelming, this is a really fun project.
Yeah.
And if you look, there's a lot of projects. If you look on Ravelry, you'll see all different kinds of yarn and really high contrast and really low contrast. It was fun in my class to see what colors people chose.
Well, this was really fun.
It was fun.
Yeah.
You can tell it's not hard to get me to talk either.
No, that's why you would do great on a podcast. Not that you want to put in the time and energy, but
I'll come be your guest. You want me to be on your podcast?
Yeah, no, for sure.
I love to teach. Invite me to come teach.
Yeah. If you are looking for teachers, I say that on my podcast a lot. If you have a local yarn store, just give them our names. We have an email. We will come.
Yep, I've taught in a couple different places in the country. I used to teach at TNNA, which was the trade show for National Needle Arts, and a place in Maine. And I'm doing the Sun Valley Fibers Fall Fiber Frolic in Madison this year, and that'll be fun.
That'll be really fun. I've been to that a number of times. Back in the day before she moved it to November, because it used to be the January thaw.
Right.
And I would go with a group of friends in January. And then I couldn't go because that's the Barrett Jackson car auction, which all my people know that we have to go to Arizona, which twists my arm to go to Arizona in January, right? Yeah. So my husband loves the Barrett Jackson, and I love to knit in Arizona. Thank you so much for driving out.
It's been very fun.
It was,
really
and I loved seeing all your stuff. Because like I said, that baby sweater, that's the first thing I ever saw of yours. Before I even met you, I remember, those things in your mind where you say, this is like a brilliant design. So I really appreciated you coming out.
Okay.
We're going to say goodbye.
All right,
bye, everybody.